there has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michelle Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 205, Rewrite Your Plate, Transforming Your Life with a Vegan Story. Okay, who's been watching the Olympics? Me either. Okay. Oh, wait, maybe some of you have been. Sorry. I really don't watch sports. I don't care. I'm happy for them. I'm super happy for Simone Biles. As I record this, it's only it's Sunday, so that's day 2 probably, maybe day 3. They say Simone looks powerful and great, and I'm very glad, super glad Celine Dion was up to performing. Adore Celine, but I actually didn't hear it, didn't see it, and this summer I've just got other things going on, and I've been distracted with family and house guests and a million other things, including you, my veg your bestie. You are always at the top of my mind. And you also may know that I love Paris, but I would really not want to be there in August, or especially during something like the Olympics. Why? Because I have a narrative. I have a story that I don't watch sports. Okay, unless my child or grandchild is competing, but my grandkids are only 4 and under. And I have a narrative. I have a story that I don't like cities in the heat, and that I don't like crowds and lines and heavy security. Those are some stories that seem very true in my head. So it would never occur to me to want to go to the Paris Olympics when I could theoretically watch it on TV. And it would also not occur to me to watch it on TV because in my head, the story I have on repeat is that's just who I am. It's just the truth. Don't like sports. Except it's not exactly true, is it? Because if someone in my closest sphere said, Michelle/mom/babcha, I really want you to see this. Or if one of my clients said, I really want to share this with you because it made such a difference in my life, or I'm so proud of what I accomplished, or this is amazing, I almost definitely would watch sports in those situations, because I also have a self-image, a narrative, a story that when people you care about ask something or share something, well, I take it seriously. That's my story. I value that. And I make an effort to see things with their eyes or from their perspective. Now, walking around day after day with a story like, I don't go to Paris in the summer for crowded events, that is not a story that gets in the way very often. It doesn't get in the way of my goals. It doesn't circumscribe my life in any way that I'm currently aware of anyway. But for example, my husband's cousin, he is an Emmy Award-winning video engineer who specializes in broadcast of large sporting events like the NBA and NASCAR, and he does the Olympics. He sets up the Olympics cameras for NBC. So if he were walking around with my thoughts that sports are kind of dumb and crowded events are unpleasant and Paris in the summer is like no fun, that might get in the way of some important or relevant aspects of his life. So my point is, these are all just stories that we tell ourselves. We're walking around all day long telling stories that we've told ourselves so many times that we don't even listen to ourselves about them anymore. And we tell stories about who we are, what we can and can't do all the time. All the time. But once in a while, something happens. Once in a while, someone we meet or an event we attend or a thing we learn kind of blows our minds. And we think, wait a minute, I'm not like I've been saying. I am actually adventurous. I am kind of good with kids. I'm not that impatient. I'm not always accident prone. I am kind of funny. I'm not really lazy. What are some others? I do have some upper body strength. I enjoy some country music. Dresses are actually pretty comfortable for me. Or, as a college friend has recently decided, running for political office could be something I want to do. Or as I decided about 4 years ago, to the complete shock of everyone who knows and loves me, maybe I could actually encourage and support people interested in being vegan or plant-based with a weekly podcast. What did you used to think you couldn't do, wasn't you? And then, amazingly, it was you. And you could actually do it. Was it parenting or mentoring or driving a car with a stick shift maybe, or using an iPhone without a home button, or caring for a sick relative, or settling an estate for a deceased family member, rescuing an animal, downsizing from a family house to a small apartment, traveling overseas, gardening, quitting smoking, handling a financial setback or a layoff. What was it? You know, this year, several of my clients are dealing with a couple of things from that list I just read. And at the beginning, they told me all the reasons why it wouldn't be possible. How it just couldn't happen for them. They couldn't see how it would be possible, that they were deeply unsuited for it, emotionally, cognitively, physically, that they'd never been able to do it before. And that, my friends, is narrative. That is self-image. Now, my self-image about not being, not being able to watch sports or not being able to abide crowds, that will probably not get in the way of anything much I want in my life. And I guess if a grandchild said, Babcha, I'm going to be competing in the Olympics and I want you to be there, well, then I would have to either say, no, darling, I don't do that. That's just me. Or I might find that I had an important reason to change my self-concept. When you change your story, you change your life. It's really, really true. Understanding that you really, really can, and that from time to time, you actually just do change your personal narrative. That can be a powerful tool and a powerful realization when you're interested in making some sort of significant life change. And it's good to know a little about how and why this process works. Because your personal narrative, that is just the story you tell yourself about who you are. And it's based on some of your past experiences and some of your current beliefs and some of your future expectations. And that narrative continues to shape your thoughts, emotions, and actions, usually almost unconsciously. And it influences the trajectory of your life. Now, personal narratives, okay, they are rooted in beliefs that were probably based on something real, but not on everything real. Sometimes limiting beliefs such as, I'm not good at public speaking, or I'll never be able to get stronger at this point in my life, or crowds are unsafe, or how about this one? No one wants to be in Paris in August. Okay? By identifying and then maybe challenging these beliefs, they can be replaced with more empowering stories, such as, I can learn to speak a little bit more effectively, or I keep reading about older women getting stronger. Those are narratives that open up a little wiggle room in your self-belief. Changing your narrative allows you to see situations from just sometimes the tiniest, but sometimes a significantly different perspective. We've all been there, right? Instead of viewing a late flight as a disaster, sometimes you're able to see it as an opportunity to just chill and read a good book. Other times you might console yourself by thinking, well, at least I'm not traveling with an infant today. Or maybe you are traveling with a bunch of kids, and now is the time to get really, really proactive and ask for what you need. I'm famous for thinking that the people on the other end of phone calls should read my mind, and that I have no idea how to get my point across, and I don't even know what it is I'm asking for. This is my self-belief that goes way, way back. And as a young adult woman, I was super intimidated about how to get, just how to be effective when there were solutions to find. And then I read a book, because I was a Francophile. I read a book by Polly Platt in the 1980s about how to deal with tricky situations in Paris, which in those days, Paris had had a tough reputation as being tough on outsiders, particularly tough on Anglophones. And Polly Platt, who was a specialist in protocol and helping expats and diplomats deal with Parisians, she called this the magic sentence. Bonjour, madame. Excusez-moi de vous déranger, j'ai un problème. Hello, madam. Excuse me for bothering you, but I have a problem. Well, she called that the magic sentence that you should pull out whenever you are lost or in a tough situation or requiring some sort of help in Paris. And, we could talk way more about the specifics of that, but I took that advice to heart. That became it became the story in my head of what to do when I didn't know what to do. And I've used that phrase in endless situations, not just in Paris, for almost 40 years. It is the phrase that I know I can use regardless of what's wrong. If I can't find the elevator or the toilet, or I've lost my wallet, or I can't figure out how to pay my tax bill, or they don't have the reservation that I thought I made, it has worked so well. Excusez-moi de vous déranger, j'ai un problème. I'm sorry to bother you, but I have a problem. It has worked so well because I changed from thinking that I'm someone who isn't good with complicated situations and dealing with people or explaining what's wrong or imagining what solution I even want. I changed into someone who knows how to ask for help. Any shift like this, sometimes it's a matter of just having some go-to words or social skills, but any shift, no matter how artificial, can reduce so much stress and promote so much more of a positive outlook on life in those tough moments when you really aren't sure what to do. Now, anytime I do not even know where to begin, I remember Polly Platt's magic words in Paris. A positive narrative, just the sentence, magic words, right? Believing that you've got some magic words that you can begin to use. This is so powerful for your emotional health, knowing that you can start somewhere. Studies have shown that people with a positive view of dealing with problems or aging, they live longer, healthier lives than those with a negative self-image. Telling yourself a more optimistic story, it just naturally boosts your mood and your confidence. I only mean a more optimistic story. If you've been here a while, you know I don't mean going from everyone hates me and is making fun of my hair to I'm a goddess, everyone wants to be my friend. You have to actually be able to believe your new story. A new narrative. A new narrative can motivate you to take at least a small step towards what it is you want. For example, if you can't currently see yourself as a healthy, active, midlife or older person, you might be able to think of yourself as someone who is open to learning more about movement, or someone who is curious about how to incorporate more fruits and veggies in their meals. Or maybe you start by reminding yourself that you're an open-minded person, always ready to learn, or as someone who takes medical issues seriously or is a responsible person. Or maybe you just believe that learning something new about this subject would be important for your family's health and safety. Right? You don't have to believe that you are an Olympic athlete yourself. When I need to be a bit more proactive, I myself often think about how it's my opportunity to model this for someone in my family. Now, many, many, many years ago, when I was quitting a college cigarette smoking habit, my story that helped me then was, I don't want my then boyfriend to smoke. Now, my then boyfriend is now my now husband. And at the time, that boyfriend had started smoking again after he met me in college, and my love and concern for him was what really helped me do the loving, responsible thing for myself. So, thinking about this idea of writing a new story for yourself in your brain, even artificially, just trying one on. We want to start by using your unique human ability, which is self-reflection. Plenty of animals think. Some animals think beautifully, but we aren't aware of animals who can self-reflect. Maybe there are some. But so far it seems to be a human trait to be able to think about the way they're thinking. So this week, take some time to reflect on the current narrative you've got. Ask yourself questions like, what story am I telling myself about this? When did that even start? Does this narrative actually reflect what's real for me? I wonder what I would like my story to be. Think about those. Then identify any of them that seem limiting, that seem negative, that might underpin your narrative. These might be thoughts like, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have much education, or I'm getting too old to change. I can't change this. Or if, for example, like many of us on this podcast, we are thinking, I might be a little stuck or bored with my vegan or plant-based journey. Maybe you've been thinking something like, I've tried this a billion times and I couldn't never stick with it. Or being vegan just seems so isolating. If you're unconsciously believing you can't stick with things and that this is isolating, there's almost no way you can make consistent progress. And that's okay. It's normal if you find yourself thinking those things. It's normal, and identifying those beliefs, which are sometimes kind of hard for us to say to other people, but it's the first step towards challenging and changing them if you want to. So you notice the story you're telling yourself. You identify if some of those are limiting beliefs, and then you try creating a new story, crafting a new, more empowering narrative. Instead of giving up eating animals as isolating, maybe you think, look at that. That's kind of interesting that I keep thinking that it's the animal flesh and the secretions on the plates that bind me to my family and friends. You might try that one. And maybe instead of feeling restricted, you practice thinking that, well, a plant-based diet opens up lots of new, diverse, flavorful, and nutritious food options for me. And then, with the story you decide to try on, you take a little bit of action, even a tiny bit of action, little steps to start living like the person who has this thought you want. Now, if your new narrative involves, say, being more confident, well, you might practice speaking up in meetings or in social situations or at the pharmacy when you're in line. Small actions will powerfully reinforce your new story. It will help it become a reality because it's consistency that is so much more powerful than intensity. If the Paris Olympics has been your focus for the past couple of weeks, yes, the intensity is there at the actual games, but it's the consistency of training for weeks and months and years that has gotten those athletes to the Paris Summer Games. Now, one of your actions will be to take that new story you're trying on and repeat that new story, that new narrative regularly. Yes, it seems artificial, but that consistency is key to embedding this new story into your subconscious mind. Over time, it will become your new default way of thinking. If you enjoy it, if you like it, right? You can always say, yeah, that one doesn't work. You're always in charge. But I think sometimes you'll think, you know what? That's the way I want to think about my life. And then you start surrounding yourself with any support you can find. Your environment plays a huge role in shaping your narrative. The people, the architecture of your life. Surround yourself in person and virtually with people who support the new story that you're trying to tell. And avoid or turn the volume down on those people who reinforce your old limiting beliefs. Consume media that inspires and empowers you. You know, that's why a lot of people love watching sports. It's not my area, but I know a lot of people tell me they watch sports because they are deeply inspired by what some humans have accomplished physically through this kind of consistent physical training, and even more important, consistent mental training. You know, there's a saying that the difference between the top athlete and number 10 is not her physical prowess. It's her mental ability to stay focused and proactive throughout the ups and downs of the competition. Changing your personal narrative leads more, how would I say this? It leads more inexorably to profound change in your life than almost anything I know. I think you've probably seen that powerfully in your own life too, or in the life of someone you know. Even with an artificial shift in your perspective, you can create a story that empowers you and intrigues you and incites you to live and show up the way you want to. You know, there's a study that says that bronze medalists are happier than silver medalists. The silver medalist knows that she just missed the gold. The bronze medalist knows that she almost didn't get a medal and didn't get on the podium at all. That's the power of story. And it's not just for elite athletes. changing your personal narrative, focusing on what you are doing well and what you have accomplished is ultimately what makes all the difference in happily adopting a vegan or a plant-based lifestyle or any other important change that you want. And you can do this on your own for sure. Absolutely, for sure you can. But everything that I have a significant challenge with, anywhere I'm not making progress with on my own, I always get a coach, even if it's just for a few sessions. I really think it's the most powerful thing you can do. It's not that the coach fixes anything for you. It's the coach who helps you stop getting in the way of your own power and helps you to stop blocking your own solutions. And I absolutely wish everyone had a coach. So this week, anywhere you're stuck, please notice what you're saying to yourself about it. Notice what your belief is about why you aren't making that progress you wanted. And if you want to email me or send me a message on Voxer or a DM on Instagram, I'm happy to investigate it with you. I think I've said it here on the pod, especially in early episodes when I was first explaining this kind of work, that a couple of my thoughts that really historically got in the way of things I wanted to do were, my time is not my own. My time is not my own. And I could do X, whatever it is, fill in the blank. I could do X, but it would be bad for my marriage or my family if I really got into it. Now, those sentences still pop into my head periodically, especially when I'm feeling stuck. They sound in my brain sometimes a little bit almost noble, like look at me, I'm prioritizing my family, putting myself second, but I promise you they are baloney. They really are baloney. And the antidote is not, I do whatever I want whenever I want, or I want my loved ones to go to HE double hockey sticks. The antidote is actually more like, sometimes my time is my own. Sometimes my time is my own for a little bit. I can do some things. Or my family like to see me doing some cool things now and then. Or my family gets along better when I'm happier and more energetic. So there are antidotes. And if you're stuck, let's talk about it. Really, really reflect. Notice your story. Practice creating a believable new story. Look for some consistent action you can take, even if it's small, and start collecting support in the form of a coach, books, social media, YouTube, people you meet, supportive family and friends. And in the meantime, get out there, live your best, serve your best, show up your best, veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.